About 5 years ago, a school teacher friend of mine was getting worried because anti-gay slurs were becoming common again among the pupils. He sought advice from Stonewall, the country's leading gay rights charity, who'd been so instrumental in the many advances in gay equality over the years. Stonewall sent him some resources. They were mostly posters and flyers, but none of them were about homophobic language or gay rights. Instead, they were all about gender identity and how some people like to be referred to with they, them pronouns. And this wasn't what he'd asked for, and it wasn't helpful, especially since my friend was an English teacher, so it would be sending mixed messages if he was telling pupils to use they and them as singular, while at the same time insisting on strict grammatical standards. What most of us didn't realise at that time was that Stonewall had suddenly pivoted into new ideological terrain. Up until 2015, it was committed to the rights of lesbians, gay men and bisexuals, but having won all its major battles, and with gay equality under the law now secured, it decided to prioritise gender identity as its new cause. Not that there's anything wrong with groups lobbying on behalf of trans people or providing support for those who are affected by anti-trans discrimination, but sexual orientation has nothing to do with gender identity. So this was a completely different direction for Stonewall. All of a sudden, LGB became LGBT. But few stopped to ask why two very different causes should be yoked together in this way. Some people have argued that, having achieved all its goals, Stonewall was suffering a crisis of purpose and needed to find a new cause in order to justify all the money it receives. I don't claim to know the reasons. It would be nice to ask a representative from Stonewall to explain, but they never agree to appear for interviews. And there are plenty of good reasons why Stonewall should engage in discussion. Because at the moment, many lesbian, gay and bisexual people take the view that Stonewall no longer works in their interests. Many believe the charity actively works against gay people and is one of the biggest threats to gay rights we currently face. But why? Well, this is quite complicated because Stonewall, like many activist groups, presents its regressive ideas as progressive, and so people are naturally confused. With that in mind, it's worth going through this point by point. So let's start with children. Gender nonconformity in childhood is a very reliable predictor of homosexuality in later life. It's not an exact science, but a majority of very young people who don't conform to gender stereotypes end up being gay. But Stonewall is advancing an ideology that says that if a young child is gender non-conforming, they might be in the wrong body. So here's a tweet that Stonewall posted just 2 days ago. Research suggests that children as young as 2 recognise their trans identity, yet many nurseries and schools teach a binary understanding of pre-assigned gender. LGBTQ inclusive and affirming education is crucial for the well-being of all young people. But children, of course, don't have any concept of a gender identity. Most adults don't, for that matter. Surely, when a little boy prefers to play with dolls or a little girl prefers blue to pink, the best response is to let them get on with it. The alternative is to fix them according to gender stereotypes. Now, this can happen in one of 2 ways. The first way looks something like this.
The second you see your son dropping the limp wrist, you walk over there and crack that wrist. Man up. Give him a good punch. Okay? You're not going to act like that. You were made by God to be a male, and you're going to be a male. And when your daughter starts acting too butch, you rein her in. And you say, oh no, sweetheart. You can play sports. Play them to the glory of God. But sometimes you're going to act like a girl and walk like a girl and talk like a girl and smell like a girl. And that means you're going to be beautiful, you're going to be attractive, you're going to dress yourself up.
So that's one way that adults try to fix gender non-conforming kids. Now here is the other way.
I can't remember the exact moment it switched over, but there was that point where I thought, you know what, this isn't just a phase. This is not a little girl we're looking at here, it's a little boy. He started being unhappy with being dressed as a girl, so he started being unhappy with wearing dresses. Hair clips were a big no-no. Didn't like hair clips, didn't like the pigtails. He was genuinely upset at being dressed as a girl.
Now, I'm not suggesting a moral equivalence here, because clearly the latter example comes from a place of compassion, whereas the former most certainly does not. But the impact is the same. You see a boy being girly, or a girl who's a bit of a tomboy, and instead of letting them be who they want to be who they are, letting them play with whatever toys they like or dress however they like, you see it as a problem to be fixed. So either you clamp down on the behaviour, force the child to behave in a more stereotypical way, or you tell the child it's not in the right body, a path that often leads to puberty blockers and surgery. Both approaches are grounded in a deeply conservative view of gender and rely heavily on gender stereotyping. And Stonewall supports the latter approach. And what does that mean for children who are likely to grow up gay? The writer Simon Edge put it well in a tweet. He posted an image of himself as a little boy and he wrote, "This is me as a kid. I was studious, bad at any kind of sport and far from conventionally boyish. I'd have been transed before breakfast if Stonewall had been in charge. Anyone now backing Stonewall is pulling up the ladder to stop kids like me growing up as gay men. For shame." Now, I've spoken to numerous gay men and lesbians who feel the same way. They were gender non-conforming children, as was I, and they are certain that in today's climate they would have been encouraged to transition. None of which is to deny that some people experience gender dysphoria and in order to be happy have to undertake procedures to present as the opposite sex. None of which is to suggest that such people don't deserve our support and protection from discrimination and harassment. But pushing through a policy of gender affirmation in infancy, a policy that will disproportionately affect gay people, is not progressive. And of course, we're seeing the results now. Since 2010, the number of teenage girls referred to the Tavistock Clinic, a paediatric gender clinic run by the NHS, has increased by 5,000%. Teenage girls, as all studies confirm, are particularly susceptible to social contagion, as we've seen before with eating disorders and self-harming. So these figures should concern us. These aren't people who are old enough to vote or even buy cigarettes, yet we're told that they ought to be able to make life-changing decisions about their own bodies. This is why so many people who were continually affirmed in their belief that they were trans are now in the process of detransitioning. Richie Heron, a gay 35-year-old civil servant from Newcastle, is currently suing the NHS for encouraging him onto a path that ended with the removal of his genitals. And there will be many more of these to come. And one of the main reasons this has all happened so quickly is because of Stonewall. Because Stonewall doesn't just lobby to promote gender identity ideology, it insists that companies and government bodies subscribe to this belief system. They've even been accused of misrepresenting the law in order to coerce companies into doing so. And Stonewall is everywhere. An investigation by the Taxpayers Alliance last year found that a total of 327 public bodies were paying into Stonewall's Diversity Champions scheme. Between 2018 and 2021, Stonewall received over £3 million of taxpayers' money. The Department for Education paid Stonewall £600,000 during a 5-year period from 2016 to 2021. And although Liz Truss, as Equalities Minister in May 2021, urged all government departments to withdraw from Stonewall's employment scheme, many have not done so. The Department for Work and Pensions and the Department for International Trade, the Department for the Environment, the Home Office, the Foreign Office, the Treasury, Revenue and Customs, the House of Lords, the Scottish Government, the Welsh Government, the Labour Party, the Green Party, all of these bodies and many more are still signed up to Stonewall. Remember that Stonewall is the group whose CEO, Nancy Kelly, has compared lesbians who don't want to include men in their dating pool to sexual racists and anti-Semites. This is the charity that has redefined the word homosexual on its website and promotional materials to mean same-gender attracted, even though gay people are same-sex attracted. And a recognition of the biological reality of sex differences has always been at the heart of the gay rights movement. With friends like these, who needs homophobes?